want you to tell the truth, tell the
and
story.
And talk about the Brumbies and the Bangerangs?
Yep.
Yeah. And that really makes me feel angry, because no person should take land off someone and give it to someone that's not even a tribe, you know.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, and it makes me so angry.
That's why we're here. So I wanted to say all that.
And
I'll ask you about, I remember Sandy telling me a few years ago, you know, a while back, and I said to you on the phone, prior to it being listed a national park, the government, Jennings and Brakes and a few others, they met with Sandy and some other Bangerang people, and they said to him, it was when it was still a Barmah Forest.
Yes.
And they said to Sandy, we want your support to help us remove the cattle and the logging out of the forest. And Sandy said, why? We support it. Yeah. And they immediately all stood up and they walked out. Yep. And they left. And what happened was, they obviously went straight to the Yorta and a deal was done.
That was after that court, wasn't it?
That's right. And then a deal was done. Yeah. With the Yorta, so that the Yorta said, yeah, okay, we agree. Yeah. And that, you know, that's pretty disgusting.
And they just changed to Yorta.
Yeah, it's all done.
Oh, right.
They just changed to the Yortas because they know they're not from the Bangerang people. Because Matthews brought all different people from different places down to Maloga. And like, you know, Colin Walker, well, his family didn't come from here, but he was born down at Cumra. And Monica grew up in Melbourne, her father's German. And next minute she's up here living like I was born on Cumra, delivered by an Aboriginal lady. Me and my 5 brothers older than me, and then after I was born they started taking them into hospital in Echuca then. But yeah, so Monica knows nothing about what we grew up with. We had the managers there treating us pretty bad. That's why my auntie lived up here and my grandmother and grandfather lived on the New South side over from where the bridge is. Yes. So, you know, they were terrible people, the managers. Mm. So it's Murray Willerton. I'm the president of the Barmah Brumby Preservation Group, and I've got the absolute honour to be sitting here with a lady by the name of Ruth, who is a elder of Bangerang.
Of the Bangerang.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll go through. Obviously, we've had the devastating release of the Parks Victoria action plan in relation to eradicating most of the Brumbies out of the Barmah National Park, with the view to, you know, they're not happy with having 100 in 4 years. Their overall view is to bring them down to 0. So we're talking about a mass slaughter of the Barmah Brumbies in the Barmah National Park in however many years. Yeah, look, I'll throw in a bit of history. Our group's been campaigning for 6 years to keep the Brumbies in the Barmah National Park. We've gone through mountains of consultation with Parks Victoria and the government. We've gone to Parliament House. We've met with ministers on both sides. We've compiled petitions. We've handed a petition to the Liberal government, a petition to the Labor government. We've just recently handed a 28,300 signature petition to the Labor government again. There was a poll last year on Sunrise. The results were that I think it was about 90% of people, 20,000 people responded, and 90% of them wanted to see the Brumbies remain in Victoria. Our petitions and our consultation was overwhelming in favour of the Brumbies staying in the Barmah Forest or the Barmah National Park. We've sat down 2 years ago in Shepparton, 3 separate meetings, very in-depth meetings with Parks Victoria, the government, DELP, and others, other groups with interests in the Barmah National Park. We went through the first time that Parks Victoria has ever been forced into actually handing over their scientific documents, which they say they base you know, their results and their future visions on. When we actually got hold of those scientific documents, the truth came out, Ruth, and then that was that the damage being done to the Barmah National Park has got nothing to do with the Brumbies. The majority of damage being done is as a result of the man-made environmental flooding over the summer months, which is doing untold damage to the park. It's creating the Moira grasslands to shrink. It's reduced the grasslands by 93% in the last 80 years. The scientific documents, which Parks Victoria believe are the truth, even state that if the flooding continues, that the Moira grasslands will be extinct within another 10 years.
Really?
Yes. But Parks Victoria just recently put out a fact sheet, and there were 7 supposed facts on there. The first fact was that the Brumbies are the reason why the Moira grasslands have reduced in size by 93%. I didn't know the Brumbies could open the regulators and allow the water to flood the national park.
No.
I didn't know the Brumbies were in charge of all the government departments that are currently using and have been using the Barmah National Park as a water channel to supply water to South Australia. I didn't know the Brumbies were smart enough to have keys with locks. And anyway, another fact, there was a multitude of them, 7 of them. Another fact was apparently that the Brumbies aren't a tourist attraction. Well, Ruth, I can tell you now, our group is contacted weekly, multiple times weekly, to take people out on guided tours to show people the Brumbies.
Well, like I told you, I never seen a Brumbie until a couple of years ago. And when I was, I'm turning 80 in August, and when I was a kid I rode down there and we never seen a Brumbie, ever. And that's the only time I seen them was a couple of years ago. And you never seen any trouble at all in those days about Brumbies.
Yeah, well, what occurred, Ruth, was that prior to the Barmah National Park being created, prior to that, the locals, the cattlemen and the locals, we used to manage the horses.
Yeah.
And we used to keep everything under control.
Yeah, well, you
but
never
the
heard of
the same as all national parks.
Yeah.
As soon as it's created into a national park, there's a whole heap more rules and guidelines, and that forced all the locals into we were never able to manage the horses again. Like if there are any injured horses or horses stains that were causing problems, the locals used to go out and deal with those problems because they were able to carry a firearm in a forest, in the Barmah State Forest. But as soon as the national park come along, you're not allowed to carry a firearm.
That's why they let the Yortas have the say here, so they could just tell them what to do.
Yep. I
think, because they just took over once Monica was in charge of the bush.
Yes.
And I said to the fella up at a meeting, you were there, weren't you?
Yes.
And I said to him, why is letting the Yortas do this to the forest when they're not even a tribe, they just made themselves there, and I said the Bangerang people were from here, and he jumped up and walked out.
Yeah, well that was another scam, another false consultation meeting where everyone actually tells them the truth and they ignore it.
Yes, exactly.
And I wasn't there when you had your say. I got there just after, but some of our group's committee were there and they witnessed what you said.
Yeah.
And what you said was absolutely totally true as far as we know.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just thought I'd do an introduction. Like we're really battling. This action plan is calling for another part of the fact was it's a fact apparently that there's 540 horses out there.
Oh, really?
Now they did a count in December using helicopters, and they counted 60.
Oh.
Now what they do is they fly over a very small piece of the park. And they're not stupid. They fly over the part of the park where the horses, it's popular for the horses. And they counted 60.
Gee.
And then what they do is they go back to Melbourne and they use something called transects, which is on a computer, and they break the park up into, say, 10 different grids. And then they say to themselves, you know, these bean campers, these scientists down in Melbourne, they say to themselves, well, hang on a minute, we saw 50 in that grid, so that means, 60 in that grid, so that means that there's 60 in every other grid.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden they see 60 horses, but by fudging the figures and manipulating the figures, all of a sudden they think they can claim that there are 600 Brumbies out there.
Yeah.
And that's how these counts are being conducted all over Australia. The same problem is in Kosciuszko, the same problem is in the Alps. They're using the same method.
Yes.
And their thinking is, well, if we greatly exaggerate the amount of horses that are out there, the general public will believe us because they think we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
And they'll think, well, hang on a minute, there's too many horses out there and you know, they're overpopulated and they're causing massive damage. So the general public think, well, maybe some horses do need to be removed. But it's not true.
Yeah.
You know, it's really, really untrue. Anyway, why we're here with Ruth is that we've been aware for decades that the Bangerang have been treated really, really unfairly. Their voice hasn't been heard by politicians, by the government, by Parks Victoria, by DELP, the Department of Environment, Land, Water and Planning. And they haven't been given a voice. Now, most people listening to this video will be surprised when I tell you that just over 10 years ago, the Yorta Yorta Nation, they took the Labor government to court. And the reason for going to court was the Yorta Yorta wanted to be recognised as the traditional owner of these lands, which includes the Barmah National Park. They actually lost that court case in the Supreme Court. So what they did was they appealed against the decision and they took the Labor government to the High Court. Now, the highest court of the land also ruled that the Yorta Yorta could not prove that they were the traditional owners of this land, including the Barmah National Park. Now, what occurred was shortly after, during that time, a elder and the leader of the Bangerang was also a committee member of the Barmah Brumby Preservation Group, and his name was Sandy Atkinson, a wonderful man. And Sandy told me a story, he told me many stories, but one of the ones that sticks in my mind is that just after those, a little while after those court cases, the Labor government met with the Bangerang, which included Sandy and other elders, and they stated that they wanted the Bangerang's support in removing cattle and the logging out of the Barmah State Forest at that time. And Sandy and the other elders said, no, why? No, we support those. Well, Sandy told me that those politicians immediately stood up and left the room.
Really, just like the fella does it.
Yeah. Now, obviously they've then gone to the Yorta Yorta and somehow a deal was made. But what I don't understand, and hopefully you can explain it to me, is when the Yorta Yorta's taken the Labor government to court, to the highest court in the land, and they've lost their court case in relation to traditional ownership, how can the government then, approximately 6 months later, then hand the Barmah National Park over to the Yorta Yorta
to people that don't even own the land
and go against a case law decided in the High Court?
Yeah.
So, yeah, would you like to
that's what makes me angry and hurt, you know, that to think that my ancestors were here from time began and they knew the area where they come from and all of a sudden we just stripped of everything. And they even tried to get land up at Wangaratta, didn't they? We went to, did you go to a meeting up there when?
No, there was a meeting up there
we
with the politician, Mr McCurdy was there.
Yeah, we went up there.
Yeah, so I'm told that the Bangerang lands go from Barmah all the way through to Wangaratta.
Yeah.
So I'll ask you a very direct question. And the reason for it is I spoke to a regional director of Parks Victoria on Friday.
Yes.
Obviously, myself and the other committee members of our group were really, really devastated in relation to the action plan. During that conversation, I stated to him, why haven't you spoken to the Bangerang? Why haven't you got, why haven't you asked them what they think should happen? And he said to me, oh no, we've spoken to the Yorta Yorta, and the Yorta Yorta speak on behalf of the Bangerang.
Yeah, that's not right.
Now, when I met with Dozer Atkinson, Kev Atkinson and the other board members and elders 2 weeks ago, I asked them that question and they said to me, no, absolutely not. The Yorta Yorta do not speak on behalf of the Bangerang. So I just thought I'd ask you, do the Yorta Yorta speak on behalf of the Bangerang?
No, they don't.
Right. So the Bangerang have got their own voice?
Yes. Well,
Yes.
Sandy fought himself into his grave trying to correct the wrong that the government done, and
Yes.
and I was so sorry because one party looked so good and then all of a sudden he went down because he was just wouldn't stop, and the ministers over in Shepparton would say, oh, Uncle Sandy will fix it all for you, but they never done a thing. And when I seen him at his funeral, I felt, only I didn't want to cause any blues but I felt like having a go at them,
Yes. So the fight for the Bangerang to have their own voice and to be able to speak in relation to what they would like to happen with the Barmah National Park, and also all the land from Barmah to Wangaratta, because it's their traditional home. When do you think you're going to be recognised, and when do you think that the truth is going to be?
I'd like that to happen before I die anyway. I'd love to, for my family that were here and from time began, my father's grandfather and we're just here like nobodies because we're not recognised as the owners of the land here.
Why do you think that the government and Parks Victoria only recognise the Yorta Yorta?
Because they want to do what they want to do with the bush.
So are you saying that a deal's been done where they're happy to work with the Yorta Yorta because the Yorta Yorta will agree with them?
Yeah, and when we first come home here and our boys in Melbourne wanted to come up and be with us but you had to say you were a Yorta Yorta before you can get a job with them. So
with Parks Victoria?
No, wherever they had the works, I suppose.
With any government agency, yeah.
And they had no rights to do that to people that lived here all their lives. Like Monica never grew up here, and old Coke Walker did because, like I said, his family was brought here. He didn't come from here, but he was born on Cummeragund. His family didn't come from here.
Yeah. So can you explain to me, because I still struggle with it sometimes, what are actually the Yorta Yorta? What are they? Are they a corporation? Is Yorta Yorta a language, or is Yorta Yorta a tribe?
It's not a tribe, what I know. It's a language. Yorta means no-nos, Yorta Yorta. So they're nobodies really.
Okay.
And there's a tribe in Echuca that maybe they come off that tribe. They don't want to go in there and say Yorta Yorta either, I don't know. There's Jotta Jotta, they call them in there.
Okay, so let's clarify this. So the Barmah National Park is the traditional lands of the Bangerang.
Yes.
But the government and Parks Victoria are not recognising the Bangerang, and they are not asking the Bangerang what should happen in the Barmah National Park.
Nothing like that. And it's just, even on the New South Wales side, the Bangerangs were, because they were at Moira where they all started off, the Bangerangs, from Moira right down to here. And so, wonder why they didn't go and try and start a national park over at Echuca.
I don't know.
By Barmah.
So, how does it make you and your family feel when your history and your heritage and your rights are not being honoured?
Oh, it's very hurtful, it really is. I feel really sad that this is going on like this, you know. It's hurtful to me, and my son, I only just taught him about it as they were growing up, and he's a couple of years younger than Brett, and he's got Bangerang tattooed all on his arm, and he's as white as he.
I see you're on a property on the edge of Barmah,
Yeah.
and I see out in one of your front paddocks you've got an absolutely massive sign of
Graham done that, my husband.
yeah, which states Bangerang land.
Yeah.
So obviously, you know, you and your family are very passionate
Yeah.
about trying to get this wrong right,
Oh,
and,
yes,
getting
yes.
your rights exposed. You know, like getting the whole story exposed.
Oh, I'd love that to happen before my time's finished on this earth, because I've got kids, grandkids growing up, you know, that feel like they want to. Most of them have got non-Indigenous. Old Brett's Indigenous, but their mother's not. I'm part Indigenous, and they love being over here and going riding in the bush and things like that.
Yep.
And they're going to stop all that, aren't they?
Well, that's the Yorta Yortas
Yeah.
in their current plan.
Yep.
I was going to ask you about that. You know, we've got two plans we're dealing with at the moment. We've got the one that's just come out by Far Parks Victoria,
Yes.
which is their final plan, which talks about how they're going to slaughter all the brumbies.
Oh, see, that's
Right.
wrong.
But then we've got another draft plan, which has been done by the Yorta Yorta, which also says that they want the brumbies slaughtered and removed as well. But that even goes further, and obviously someone in the Yorta Yorta doesn't like horses, because they're even calling on trail riding on the roads and tracks to be banned.
Well, no one, not any Aboriginals that I know, dislike horses. You know.
Well, someone in there must.
Well, Monica never grew up around here, so she would be the one talking. You know, because if she'd have grew up like we did around here, knowing all about the horses and all wildlife and everything, and she wouldn't be doing what she's doing. And everybody rode horses and everything in there. And another thing that used to happen when I used to stay with my aunt up there near the lakes, and she, we'd ride a bike with the non-Indigenous kids from up the road there, and it'd be flooded all over the road, and we'd be riding, chasing ducks and late for school. And the non-Indigenous kids would be crying because they were getting in trouble, but I didn't. I used to just think, well, it's on the road, we can't help it, you know, it's on the road. And
Yep.
Yeah,
So has, from your knowledge, has the Bangerang got like a history which involves the brumbies or horses?
Yeah, well, look, if they're like what we knew, they would have. Everybody with the Aboriginals I know just love horses. So, and like I said, even when I was going to school, I never even seen a brumby because they were all up cared for in the bush.
Yeah, well, it's pretty common knowledge of what's occurred is that all the fences, from the moment it became a national park, was the moment that Parks Victoria has never managed the horses.
Yeah.
All right? This is part of the problem. The horses have not been managed for at least a decade.
No.
Now, they claim that there's a huge amount of horses out there, which is incorrect. You know, I've got no doubt about that. But if there are too many horses out there, well, then who's to blame?
Yes.
Well, it's Parks Victoria's
Why
blame
didn't
because they haven't managed them for the last 10 years.
Yeah, that's right.
But what's occurred in the last 2 years is that they've pulled down fencing.
Yep, I heard that.
And they're actually have allowed the wild horses to leave the national park and come into the Barmah township. Now, you know, and that's another excuse they're now using, that our horses are getting out on the road, so that's why we need to remove them.
Yeah.
Well, hang on a minute. To a suspicious person, it would look like that they deliberately did that.
Yes. Well, like I said, all them years I'd never seen a horse, and I grew up around here, born around here, until 2 or 3 years ago when they started coming up near the Dania Centre and that, and Graham took me up to show me them, and then one night they started coming in the paddocks, and we had a heap in here, but we just couldn't afford to buy hay for them.
Yep.
So now they're starting to deliver hay for us with the ones that are out in the paddock.
Just 1 second, Murray. I'll just set her start a file. There we go. Go for it.
All right.
Yep.
Ruth, look, we could talk for hours and hours in relation to this. There's so many wrongs, involved in this.
It's all right. We can edit this out. You can sit there and do star jumps, and that won't happen.
But it was funny when my husband talked to my brother Kevin, he's passed away now, and he said, how do you get in there and get the wood? He said, I'm a yorta, and he's a white man. and Kevin nearly fell over laughing while he was talking, and when he used to ring me to see if we wanted any fish, he'd say, ask that yorta man, does he want fish? This is my husband, told my brother he was a yorta man and he's a white man.
So I'll go back to what I was originally going to say. Ruth, last summer we went through months of a massive cruelty issue to the Barmah Brumbies. We had over 100 adult Brumbies die from starvation,
yes,
and we lost nearly, well, I'd say just about all the foals.
Yeah, well that's what happened here. There was a couple of them here. One of them, one day we were sitting there and Graham looked out and he said, there's a foal out at the backyard. It must have fell through the fence, but it died.
Yeah. And
the other ones all died.
Yeah.
So this one, the one that's been fed here all the time, she had a foal about 6 months ago, so it's really well.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
But we obviously, we went through a massive issue where my volunteers were out there, well not mine, our group's volunteers were out there every day. And the sights and what those people had to see was just, it was disgraceful. It was shocking, and the bottom line is Parks Victoria have got no care for the Brumbies. They even tried to argue at one stage that the wild horses aren't animals. Like, let's be serious, and that was stated in a way to try to renege on their responsibility because they are the land manager.
Yes.
And as far as my legal background tells me, when you are in charge of land, any land, or you're the manager of that land, or you're the owner of that land, you are responsible for the animals on that land.
Yes.
Well, apparently there's a different set of rules with Brumbies compared to any other animals, even though they are an animal. You've got Acts of Parliament called the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act. Now, if you allowed 100 adult Brumbies to starve to death on your property, I'd probably tell you that you're going to be in jail.
Yeah, yeah.
And if I allowed 100 Brumbies or any horses to starve to death on my property, I could tell you I'd probably be sitting next to you and I'd be in jail as well.
Yeah.
But apparently when you're a government agency, apparently you're allowed to breach the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act. Apparently you're allowed to allow animals to starve to death.
Yeah. Wrong.
Anyway, our group, we fought so hard, and money was raised from all over the world, and we fed the remaining horses, and we saved them. The group saved them. We've got wonderful volunteers that have helped us.
Yes.
They're still out there every day,
Yeah.
helping animals, helping the horses. And this action plan, in the last 4 days, it's devastated these people because, what they saw during those 3 months has affected them forever.
Yes, yes.
But they were willing to deal with horses collapsed on the ground and having them put down in front of them by vets or by Parks Victoria. They've had to deal with all those emotions, like some of them have got depression as a result of it. Some of them suffer from anxiety as soon as they hear that the wild horses are going to be eradicated. And now we've got this action plan which calls on them basically being slaughtered.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of very emotional people that I'm trying to manage
Yes.
as a result of this. What's your thoughts in relation to this action plan when you keep in mind that their overall aim is to slaughter the whole lot of them?
You can see that. It
Yes.
stands out really, it stands out there that that's what they're trying to do. You know, and like I said, they've been here for years. Why do it now? You know, those Brumbies. And they never interfered with anybody and come down to the towns or anything like that in my lifetime. So if they hadn't have done the fences like they did, whoever done them and let them out, I would have probably never seen them because I don't like going up the bush. I'm frightened to get lost. And
So you're an elder with the Bangerang?
yes,
Yep.
yes. Sandy was my second eldest brother.
Okay.
Yes.
And speaking to board members a couple of days ago of the Bangerang, they told me that you have got full authority to speak on behalf of the Bangerang.
Yeah.
Yes. So, are you in support of the Brumbies staying in the forest?
Yes, I am.
What do you think about Parks Victoria's plan in relation to trying to remove all of them?
Well, I don't like that plan because they never interfered with anybody else before. They weren't nuisances to anybody, and now all of a sudden they're trying to get rid of them. Why?
Well, I can't answer that question, Ruth,
No.
because I went to a meeting probably about 8 months ago in Echuca, and Lily D'Ambrosio, the Environment Minister, the big boss, the chief, she was there.
Okay.
And she stated in front of about a dozen witnesses that in her opinion, the Barmah National Park is Victoria's Kakadu. And I said, oh, okay. I said, it's a fair bit different to Kakadu.
Yeah.
And she said, no, it's the Barmah National Park is Victoria's Kakadu. I said, oh, okay, righto, if that's your belief, that's fine.
Yeah.
And I said, well, Lily, while you're here, and the CEO of Parks Victoria was there, and the chief scientist of Parks Victoria was there, Mark Norman. There were quite a few, apparently very learned people there.
Yep.
And I said to them, what's your vision of the Barmah National Park? And they looked at me stupid. I said, all right, I'll say it in a different way. Do you want the Barmah National Park to look how it looks now? Do you want it to look how it looked 100 years ago? Do you want it to look how it looked 1,000 years ago? Do you want it to look how it used to look 2,000 years ago? You know, do you want it to be pristine like it was 1,000 years ago? They all looked at each other and they couldn't answer the question.
Yeah.
And I said to them, well, you need to decide what you want, because this forest has been so badly damaged by this environmental flooding. Did they realise that years ago the Barmah National Park used to be mainly open grazing lands with a few trees? I said, what we've got now as a result of the flooding is we've got just a mess of red gums and giant rushes, which we said earlier are choking the Moira grasslands. And the Moira grasslands are Ramsar protected. So I said, well, what do you want it to look like? Do you want it to look like what it looks like now, or do you want it to look like what it used to be? Because if you want it to look like it used to be, which was pristine wilderness, well, you better start doing some work.
Yeah, they do nothing in there.
Right. So I never got an answer out of them, because they could not answer that question.
They can't.
So apparently everything that's gone on out there,
They're coming out to get the
apparently all the damage and all that out there, it's just absolutely all of the horses.
Oh, that's what they're trying to say.
Yeah.
To make them look bad.
Okay. So do you demand or expect that the government and Parks Victoria and all those government agencies and the minister, do you demand or expect, or you put it in your words, do you demand that they actually start respecting the Bangerang, start allowing the Bangerang to have a voice, and actually ask the Bangerang what they would like to see happen in the Barmah National Park.
Yes, I just, you know, the way everything is now is just against what I think about everything, what they're doing over here. Because, you know, years ago the forest used to look lovely when we'd go to school and that, and it just doesn't look right anymore to me, how it used to be.
It doesn't look what it used to.
No, no,
Yeah.
it was lovely when...
And that's obviously through mismanagement.
Yes, it is. You could tell that.
Now, maybe Ruth, they're trying to put all the blame on the Brumbies so that it
Yeah,
hides,
they are.
so that it hides their mismanagement.
Yes, yes.
You know?
And it's the same thing what they done to the Bangerangs. They just wiped them like that. They're not allowed to do things like that. Take the land off and give it to another tribe that's supposed to be a tribe.
Well, I find it amazing that a High Court rules that the Yorta Yorta are not the traditional owners.
Yeah, I know, and that's what hurts me
And then
a lot.
within about 6 months, whatever deals are done, and they then, even though the Labor government fought that in the High Court and won, they then go against the High Court decision.
And why can't Andrews do something about it? He's from Wangaratta, he knows all about the land that they tried to take up there. The Yorta Yortas tried to get land up around there.
Ruth, I honestly can't answer your question, but all I can say is from everything that I've and my group has investigated, and we've spoken to many Bangerang Indigenous people, and we've been told the truth, and we are absolutely disgusted with you know, the current state of play in relation to the Bangerang. And I can tell you now, 2 weeks ago, me as the president of our group, I said to your board members, I said, we will fully support you in actually the truth being told.
Yes.
And that's the reason why we're here today.
Yes.
Because the truth does need to go out to the public.
Of course it does.
And the public need to realise that the traditional owners of the Barmah National Park have not been recognised, and they are not being listened to.
And the hurtful part about it is, you know, if the Yorta Yortas were the people for me, I'd respect them for that. But knowing that they just walked in, the government just let them walk in and take over land, and even they were going to name Yorta Yorta streets down at Cummer, that hurt me because I grew up, you know, I was born in Cummer, and knowing that they're not the people for me, it really hurt me to think that they were doing things like that.
Well, this is what I was going to ask you, like, where are the Yorta Yorta from?
Well, most of those people, Daniel Matthews bought them all from different places. And like I said, their kids would have been born here. They had kids, you know, but they weren't from the Bangerang or anybody tribes around here. But it just sort of, I don't know, it makes me so angry to think that the government just turned our people away like that and put someone else in there, and you can't get a job unless you say you're Yorta Yorta and things like that.
I've seen multiple documents, but there was one document that sticks in my mind. Yeah. Mr. Kerr, Edward Kerr, the pretty famous explorer in the early days of, you know, white settlement.
Yes.
And he went all over Australia, and he actually drew a map, and the map contained all of the different indigenous tribes all over Australia.
Yes.
And this region here, from Barmah to Wangaratta, you know, they were all the different regions were clearly defined on the map.
Yes.
And for that whole region from Barmah to Wangaratta, Kerr wrote over 100 years ago.
Yeah, well, he was here in 1846 to 1852.
Yeah, right. Well, he wrote at that time for the region we're talking about, Bangerang.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Kerr, I'd love to hear Parks Victoria's take on this, because they'd probably twist it and come up with something that's just a fact, apparently, a fact. But my way of thinking would be that, say 150 years ago when Kerr was here and he was doing that map, he had no knowledge about this dispute between the Yorta Yorta and the Bangerang that was going to occur 150 years later.
No, he would have even mentioned the Yorta Yortas, but he didn't, did he?
No, he didn't. Now, he's not a mind reader and he didn't have a crystal ball. And he didn't know that there was going to be this dispute over the Barmah National Park 150 years later.
Yep.
So what he wrote on that map was just the truth, and he wrote Bangerang.
Yes.
You know. Now, there's plenty of other documents of evidence that I've seen that different board members and elders from the Bangerang have showed me, and in my opinion, which doesn't mean much, but in my opinion, you know, your claim as the traditional owners of this area is absolutely true and absolutely watertight, you know. And our group, yes, we have gone in partnership with the Bangerang people.
Yes.
And we are fully supporting you in getting the truth out there.
And that would make me so happy if it just came out that the Bangerangs were the people from here, you know, that they give it back to the rightful people. And it's so hurtful to think that this has gone on like this, and especially someone that never grew up around here, knew anything about it, and all of a sudden she's here making out she said to me, "You're related to me," and I said, "How is that?" She said, "Oh, one of the Atkinsons married into the Morgan side," and I said, "Oh, I didn't know that," and I said, "I don't want to know it either, to be related to either." Because why bring that up now?
So that you're talking about Monica Morgan,
yes.
the CEO of the Yorta Yorta. Yeah.
Yeah, no, she's, but they've gone a bit funny with me since I've been talking up, you know, about things. And I used to always go down to the clinic. I've stopped going there now. She was on the board there, and her granddaughter wouldn't even say hello like she used to, and I thought, oh, well, I'm not going to bother.
Ruth, they're probably worried that the truth's going to be
that's
exposed.
what it's all about, yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's why it's not making me angry. I just thought, well, you sit back and get hurt the same way we did when you took over, you know, was allowed to take over our land and things that, and Cumbragunja, all New South Wales too, the Bangerangs, because they come from Moira.
Right.
See, that up there's got Moira tribe on it, that photo up in the corner up there with my great-grandfather and that.
Yes.
They all come from there. Their mother was in the tribe up there.
I saw a document, I think which dates back, a couple of decades, and it was an agreement between the Bangerang and the Yorta Yorta that they would be heard equally and treated equally. And there were I think from memory, two elders on that signed the document on behalf of the Yorta Yorta, and there were two other elders that signed the document on behalf of
Do you know they were?
the Bangerang.
You know who the people were?
No.
No. I never heard anything about that.
Oh, sorry, I right at the current moment I can't tell you, but I can show you the document. It is a true document.
Yep.
Kevin and Dozer spoke about it. But
okay, they'd know because Kevin and Dozer are my nephews. Yeah.
But what I'm saying to you is like as a result of that document, that clearly says that both sides agreed to have the same level of authority and the same level of being able to say what should happen to this land.
I don't think anybody from the Bangerangs would have done that. You know, knowing that the land, we're nobody's as far as everything, we've got no say in anything, have we?
Yeah, okay. But what I'm saying to you is if that, I don't know a lot about that document, but if that is a true document, you're not even getting half the say. You're not getting any say at all.
Nothing.
So, like the Yorta Yorta have completely run over the top of the Bangerang with government assistance. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And I don't know if someone stopped them from putting Yorta Yorta Street down, you know, because I went to the school down there until it closed, and then I had to come across the Barmah school. And my younger brothers, when it come back open again, they finished their school there. But they were going to put Yorta Yorta Street down near the school.
Yep.
until someone kicked up about it. So
Okay, so Ruth, we're going to campaign heavily. Like, we don't want all these horses slaughtered.
no, I don't want to see that happen.
The numbers they state is just absolute rubbish. It's a
They
lie.
won't come and take these, will they?
No, they can't.
No.
They're on private land.
Yeah.
You own them,
Yeah.
so your horses are safe.
Thank
And
goodness.
and we'll keep supporting you in terms of the hay and everything
Yeah.
else. So
Because when you get up in the morning, as soon as they see someone out there, they're all singing out to get
Yeah.
fed and that, you know.
I think it's wonderful that you gave those wild horses a home, because
well,
otherwise they would have been.
If Monica and them were true Indigenous people, they would have done the same. Not want to get them kicked out of where they, you know, were all the time.
Yeah.
It's sad to think that they're doing that.
Yeah. Anyway, so we'll keep campaigning, and obviously now the Bangerang are going to campaign side by side with us in relation to the wild horses.
Yes, well,
staying in the forest.
I'm all for that myself.
And we're going to do our level best to get a wrong righted in terms of what's happened to the Bangerang.
Yes.
It is disgraceful.
It is disgraceful.
Disgraceful by the government.
Yep.
Disgraceful by Parks Victoria. And people like the regional director who I spoke to on Friday need to be educated.
Yes.
I tried to educate him on Friday. He wouldn't listen to me. And they need to realise that the Yorta Yorta do not speak on behalf of the Bangerang.
And most of the people here in Barmah, they all knew that, like, you get the girls working in the forest, you know, forestry jobs in the failure, going to the schools telling them that their grandparents used to take them out and they'd eat witchetty grubs. And one of the girls, her grandmother was like a sister to my mother. They were first cousins, but I knew her, and she had the wildest food my mum and her ever cooked was rabbit and fish, and never seen it. I said I wished I would have been there with a witchetty grub. I would have said, well, show them how you used to eat them. And that granddaughter there, because I tell her about everything, you know, and she said, gee, Nan, sometimes I've got to bite my tongue to stop myself from, because she didn't know whether the teachers would say anything to her for speaking up and that. They probably don't know too much about I don't know, but Barmah knows all about it anyways, the boys I went to school with.
Oh, look, this whole local region knows about it. We've always known about it.
Yes.
You know, we've always known. My understanding from the board members the other day is that you're in for your third application to be recognised as a recognised Aboriginal party.
Yes.
We fully support that, and we wish you all the best.
Yes.
All the best in relation to that hearing.
Yes.
And hopefully, you know, yeah. This is a Victorian and national disgrace.
Yes, it is.
That the true traditional owners.
And if it ever gets corrected, I'll be so happy for my dear brother that fought himself to do this, you know, get things corrected, and just drove himself into the grave. It just made me so sad when that happened, because he knew things were wrong and he was going to try and correct it, but he never got anywhere.
He did. He fought very hard.
Yes.
But it's a Victorian and national disgrace.
Yes.
That the true traditional owners of this area are not being recognised.
No, well, it shouldn't be that way. You know, they should had no rights to do what they done, because the Yorta Yortas are not a tribe, and they just let them say they could have the land and the forest over there. Well, why?
Well, I could probably answer that.
Yes, so could I. I think I know why too. Because with trying to get rid of the Brumbies and all that, that's the sad thing for me too, to see that happen. Because these Brumbies out here, we just love having them here, you know, and
all right, Ruth. Well, I've met you before, but really lovely to see you again. Thanks for opening up your home to Salts and myself.
Yes.
We really respect that, and we wish you all the best. And I'm sure we're going to be talking to each other again soon.
Yeah, well, I hope so. Until I die, I'm going to fight and see if we can correct, just for Sandy's sake as well as ours, you know. like we grew up, I had 10 brothers and I was the only girl, and I was born in the middle of them, and Sandy used to rescue me all the time from my brother that was 2 years older than me. And one day he was chasing me, he was just about to hit me, and Sandy said, "Leave her alone or I'll kick you off the bleak blade." Oh, poor old Sandy.
Yeah.
That's my dad up there. He used to play football for Cumra.
Yeah, righto.
Yeah,
Yeah, right. Yeah, you got some good photos here.
yeah.
Yeah.
Out of the 10 boys, there's only 2 of them left. There's only 3 of us left in our family now.
Okay.
Yeah, those 2 boys on the right are the only 2 that's left up in that photo with me there.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, well, we better get out of your way. It'll be tea time and
Well, I don't know how it'll be because I see my husband's mate down there, so they might be drinking in the shed.
right. Well, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Ruth.
No, you're welcome.
Really
Yeah.
appreciate it. If do you mind, if we want to do another video or another
Yeah.
story and we want to learn more about what's happening with the Bangerang, is it okay if I'll give you a ring?
Yeah, that's fine, yeah.
All right. Thanks.
And what's happening, is there something happening next week?
Next week.
Did you say with the papers or?
Oh yeah, no, what's happening next week is Tuesday morning,
Yeah,
Win News are coming out and they want to do a story with you
okay,
and me.
alright.
And what we'll do is you go as hard as you like and you tell them the truth.
Yeah.
And we'll also talk about the Brumbies.
Yes, no, well, I'm well for the Brumbies. I could never see them getting killed. And when they were having foals, the foals were just dying because they weren't fed properly in the forest and that.
They got no idea how they're going to do this. On Friday when I spoke to that idiot, the director, the regional director, I said to him, "Righto, you've done an action plan which contains nothing. When you do an action plan normally, it contains how you're going to do it,
Yes.
when you're going to do it. It contains everything because it's the plan."
Yeah, that's right.
I said, "Okay." I said, you're going to get them down to 100 over 4 years. Yep. Right. How are you going to ensure that a healthy herd is remaining? Couldn't answer the question. I said, how are you going to ensure that it is a balanced herd between mares and steers? A balanced herd. I said, okay, what time of the year is the trapping going to occur? He said, why? I said, well, over winter the tracks and all that will be too wet in a normal year. And I said, my main concern is surely you're not going to do it over spring and summer when the mares are either heavily pregnant
Yes.
or they've just had foals.
Yes.
They've just had newborn foals. I said, surely, I said, I've got many questions in relation to the animal welfare side of things. I said, none of that is addressed in the action plan, which it should be. So, like everything I asked him in relation to animal welfare of these horses, he couldn't answer.
No, well, why didn't they look after the horses or do things for them years ago? It's just because now they want to take over here and the forest and everything, and why try to get rid of those horses? They weren't, if they would have been still locked up, they wouldn't have been annoying anyone.
Well, I agree with you, and I'll go back to Lily D'Ambrosio, the Environment Minister's comment that the Barmah National Park is Victoria's Kakadu. Well, if the Barmah National Park is currently as beautiful and wonderful as Kakadu, and the horses have been in there for the last 180 years,
Yeah.
well then, why are we trying to get rid of the horses?
Yeah, I know.
When it's Victoria's Kakadu and it's so wonderful.
Yeah. No, it just makes me
Nothing
angry.
makes sense, Ruth.
No, it doesn't to me. And I just, with these horses here, they're starting to get used to everybody here now. And that little dog, the little sausage dog, he goes out and stands with Graham when he's feeding them. And
You're talking about your horses on your property?
on this property, yeah. And he goes out and chases the emus. The emus chase him, and he's a bit funny. My granddaughter reckons he don't bark like a normal dog, and she seldom she's got a good male dog, and good breeding. She gets a fair bit of money for selling them, but this little one was a bit disabled sort of thing. and he comes out here and he gets everything and toys and throws them up in the air, and he's got them all out in the paddock that she buys for him. And
Yeah.
but yeah, no, he enjoys himself here.
Oh, that's good. All right, Ruth, we're going to wrap it up.
All right.
Thanks a lot
It
for your
was nice
help.
to catch up.
It's been a great chat.
Yeah.